Yo, yo, yo. What is up, everyone? Welcome to Smeezy MMA. And today, man, I'm here to provide you with my full card predictions and betting breakdown for UFC Sacramento. This card is stacked. There's a lot of fun matchups to predict. And I think there's a lot of fun bets to potentially place some good value on this card. And I'm going to tell you all about it because that's what we do here at Smeezy MMA. So without further ado, welcome to the channel. I'm sorry this video is coming out so late. It's been a long week moving into college, getting the lease settled. I went to Dana West Contender Series in person week 2. That shit was fucking life-changing. I'm going to 4 more events by the end of the year. It's fucking insane. Go look online right now. Tickets are $36 on AXS.com. I'm not saying this for promotion. I have fucking 10 subscribers. I'm saying this because it is a fucking life-changing experience, at least whatever I experienced on Tuesday. So let's talk about this card. You're here for a reason, all right? You're here for a reason. Follow this, right? I'm going to be giving my full card predictions. I circled, just do the fucking very easy work if you don't want to listen to the takes. Follow Twitter, look at my picks, and then I'll give you my full betting card as well. But if you want the research, you want what I did throughout this week to come to these conclusions, let me break it down for you. So first fight of the night, Chanel Dyer versus Elise Reed. I'm going with Chanel Dyer. I'm picking her by decision. A lot of people like her by finish. I think Elise Reed's sneakily tough. Yes, she's been finished 3 times, and Dyer has looked pretty decent. I just don't know if I'm sold on her power. I don't think she has the greatest pop in her hands. She's the better striker, probably the better overall fighter, but Elise Reed, at the end of the day, she can mix things up, make things weird, and she's cashed as a pretty big dog before. She's just a weird, tough, crafty veteran, I guess, of the game. So I'm not playing either money line. I think I will be playing the over at 2.5. It's plus 100. Will I be putting a lot on it? We'll see. Just wait for the betting card tomorrow because I don't have all my bets determined, but I know where I'm kind of going to go. All right, so next fight of the card, Wes Schultz versus Jackson McVey. I'm going with Jackson McVey in this matchup. I'm picking him by round 1 KO. I think he's the much better striker. I think Wes Schultz looks horrible on the feet. I don't love his takedown entries, and I know he beat Jackson McVey the first time. I know he subbed Jackson McVey the first time, and I do understand he's the better grappler. He's got the better jiu-jitsu, but Jackson McVey should be able to keep this fight on the feet. I'd like to think that he improved. I'd like to think that he's shown decent moments in the UFC, maybe better moments. Both have fought very low levels of competition. Once again, these guys both suck. They probably should not be in the UFC. But in this matchup, I think Jackson McVey gets a KO, and I think he gets a KO early. And if he loses, he probably gets submitted early. So I think the under 1.5 does make sense. And to me, I don't hate Jackson McVey money line, and I don't hate Jackson McVey inside the distance. He's also live for submission because he does like going for that front choke once he does hurt somebody. So low-level fight. We have some action on it, though. Make sure to look at the Twitter. All right, next fight of the card, Gage Young versus Stan Dorsainville. All right. I like both these fighters. I'm going with Gage Young, and I'm going by decision. But Stan is a good fighter, dude. This should be a very fun fight. And I do worry that the fact that Stan is a very athletic dude, seems to have some pretty decent power, is a BJJ black belt, has some wrestling, and this is not a full short notice fight. If you don't know, Gage Young was supposed to be fighting Cody Steele. Cody Steele pulls out. Stan Dorsainville comes in. But Stan Dorsainville was supposed to be fighting next weekend. So he's basically had a full camp minus a week. So his cardio is not going to be completely shot, which is very good news for him because he's a guy that does like to push a pace, does like to pressure, throw a decent bit of volume, shoot takedowns, do what he can with the takedowns, has a good submission game. You get the gist. In this matchup, I'm going with Gage Young because he's fought far better levels of competition. He's got the better boxing. He's got the better striking. I think his low kick should be money for him here. And he's fought off the back foot a decent bit throughout his fight career. And I just kind of like the fact that he's 26 years old. He should be improving fight to fight. So should Stan. But, this is just such a big moment for Stan. Even though I do think he's good, I think he's like a little bit more green than Gage Young. And there's moments where I think Stan looks great, and I'm thinking, oh, this could be a guy that could beat someone like Gage Young. There's also moments in the tape where I'm thinking he looks slow, where he looks open to counters, where he looks a little bit green. So for that reason, I'm going with Gage Young. And Gage Young has pretty underrated wrestling. So I think there is a world where not only does he stuff all the takedowns, but he could land some takedowns on his own. That doesn't mean I'm confident on Gage Young. I think I'm completely fading this fight when it comes to action. But this should be a fun one. Sit back is what I was trying to say. Sit back, relax, enjoy the shit, and maybe watch some Stan Dorsainville tape, because you can add some stock into this guy early while he's making his debut. This is a good prospect, 26 years old, probably has a decently high ceiling. So exciting matchup in the lightweight division. All right, move on to the next fight of the card, Ryan Cousset versus Marcio Barbosa. In this matchup, I'm picking Marcio Barbosa by round 1 KO. I think if I was to bet on anything, I would go Marcio Barbosa round 1 submission because I've seen Cousset shoot in on some bad takedowns, and Barbosa has a couple of wins by guillotine, and maybe it was just guillotines. I think he's like a couple, 2 or 3 wins by submission. Round one submission, Barbosa is not a bad play at all. If you're looking for some value, you're looking for a fun play, maybe he hurts Kusei. Kusei shoots in on a bad takedown, and he just goes for the guillotine. But ultimately, I'm going Barbosa. I'm going Barbosa round one KO. I saw some highlights from Ryan Kusei, and I'm not really seeing anything that makes me believe he's going to be a tough test for Barbosa. Shame that Danny Silva had to pull out. Number one for Danny Silva's health, I'm really praying for that guy. But outside of that, that would have been such a sick matchup had that come to fruition. So Barbosa's the pick. He's a great prospect, fun to watch. It'll be interesting to see how this fight plays out, but we kind of know how it should finish. All right, next fight of the card, Chris Padilla versus Nasrat Haqparast. All right, this is the first close prediction of the night for me. This is the first underdog I will be taking as well. I know it says 115 here, but if you check the fight odds, Nasrat is plus 100 at this point with Chris Padilla at minus 120. All right, I love Chris Padilla, and I want this to be clear. All right, before I pick Haqparast and you think, oh, dude, everyone underrates Chris Padilla, because I know I've been a part of the train, dude. I have picked Chris Padilla in every single matchup within the UFC, and that's pretty impressive considering the fact he was plus 340, plus 200, plus 105, even odds, and then I think minus 130 here, minus 160, whatever it is. That's impressive. I've had a lot of belief in Chris Padilla. Now, what I will say is when I went back and I watched tape, Nasrat Haqparast I do think is a tough stylistic matchup for him. And he does have the tools to beat Chris Padilla. And there's like just enough red flags throughout this fight week that is making me want to pick Haqparast and potentially even lay a little bit of money on him, okay? Chris Padilla has great pressure. He's got more tools in this matchup. He's got the better grappling probably. He's got the better kicking game if you want to say. But Haqparast in the southpaw stance is the cleaner, more technical guy. He's going to have the faster hands. Chris Padilla loves that high uptight guard, and I think a lot of the straight shots are going to get through. That's Haqparast's bread and butter. And I see a lot of people saying, well, dude, Jared Gordon arguably beat him, blah, blah, blah. Gordon, different pressure styles, I would say. Gordon threw a whole lot of volume. Padilla, like he throws volume, but it's not in the same way as Gordon. And then even then, like Jared Gordon's a very underrated guy. You know what I mean? And I guess maybe not, because whenever I bet on him, he gets hit by fucking cars. But Haqparast to me is a durable guy. I really liked how he performed against Esteban Ribovic. Granted, he had bad moments maybe later on in that fight, but it was still like he was hanging tough. He was taking big shots, landing clean shit straight down the pipe. I think Ribovic, to a certain degree, has somewhat similar tools to Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla likes the clinch, but Haqparast is not going to engage in the clinch the same way Mederos did. And to me, Chris Padilla, I've seen the dude fucking cut open in like his last 3, 4, 5 fights. You know what I mean? That's not a good thing. I think Haqparast and Padilla, this fight, just by the nature of these styles, it should play out in a close, fun, high-paced decision where Haqparast is landing the cleaner strikes. I also do want to mention Chris Padilla's fight against Jai Herbert. I picked him. I bet him. I think Jai Herbert might have won that fight. I wasn't very impressed with him in that matchup. I could definitely see the Padilla argument for winning that as well. But Haqparast, like I said, he's got the cleaner straight punches. I think he's got the type of punches that are going to get through the guard of Chris Padilla, cut him open, and in a close fight where he's cut open, that can make the judges sway towards a Nasrat Haqparast. And I just liked how he looked against Esteban Ribovic. And Ribovic is a guy that I believe in as well. So Haqparast is a good guy, has good counters, straight punches, southpaw. I understand that Padilla's side has more tools. He's got better kicks. He just fought well against Mederos. He's been underrated for quite some time. But Padilla seems a little bit public to me. That's another red flag that I was kind of alluding to. Seems a little bit more public. Seems like everybody's all over Padilla. Oh, he's a fucking underdog, or he's just even odds again. He's getting underrated. I think Haqparast has quicker hands than Mederos. I think he's got better boxing than Mederos. I like his combinations better than Mederos, and I think he's more of a vet with more experience than Mederos, right? And I do like Mederos, and we'll talk about that later on the fucking fight card. But Haqparast is my pick. He's got good cardio, and for the reasons that I named. And I could probably go through like moment by moment by moment, but I'm not going to keep you here for a fucking hour-long video. And I say that, and I probably will. So Haqparast is the pick. Not high confidence by any means. Probably 52% chance Haqparast wins. I might have a little bit of something on money line, and I don't think I will attack a prop. I think I'll just leave it that way. All right. Gaziev versus Nzechukwu. I love Shamil. I tried to find a way to pick him. I ended up picking Kennedy Nzechukwu, though. Still not confident. Let me try to use words here. Shamil Gaziev is a guy that just gets hit a lot, but he does have a good chin, right? He's been looking bad lately. He's coming off 2 KO losses, one to Brando Pericic and one to Waldo Cortez Acosta. I don't think it means he's chinny. I think it means more so that he gets hit. And Kennedy Nzechukwu, I'm not going to say he's underrated because he really is just who he is. Like if you've been following the UFC, if you've been following his fights, you know who Kennedy Nzechukwu is. And you know why you're not fucking really excited to see this guy that's fucking 6'5", tall as shit, has a good kicking game, has good tools, seemingly has some good power, and has some really like fun highlights, has beaten Carlos Ulberg. There's a reason why you're not super excited to see this guy fight. And it's because he can be low volume. It's because he's so inconsistent. It's because his chin is made of dust at times. And like sometimes it just looks like this guy is a quitter. He doesn't want to fight. So it's a hard one for me to predict. I picked Kennedy because I think it's a tough frame for Shamil. I think Shamil's going to get tagged on the way in. I think Kennedy, when I was watching, was a sneaky craftsman. I kind of liked how he fought against Ion Cutelaba. He's got good knees. He's got good kicks, rangy punches. His striking defense, I think, has gotten better. And while he hasn't really beaten anyone at the heavyweight division and he didn't look good against Marcus Buchecha, he really didn't. It's fucking scary, to be honest with you, in this matchup. Shamil is a guy that I can rely on to get hit. And while he definitely could land on Kennedy, who has a dust chin, who fucking is a little bit of, I don't want to say a pussy, but he's a little bit of a quitter. He is. I bet on Kennedy, you know. And then he will be content with the low volume fight. So I don't know. It's one of those things where you're waiting for Kennedy to break out, waiting for him to have a good performance, and then he doesn't have it. But from the few performances I watched where someone was kind of pushing, trying to find the KO on Kennedy, it kind of worked to his favor where he found the finish against Lucas Burschke, against Ion Cutelaba. There was another fight that I want to mention as well. He found that finish against that one dude, Devin Clark. You know what I mean? I think light heavyweight is a more skilled division. Nzechukwu hasn't really faced good heavyweight competition, and he had a weird performance last fight out, but I'm just going to say that he has weird, awkward tools. Shamil gets hit. Kennedy has power, and while Shamil is lovable, and I kind of am cheering for the meal deal, and I actually have a bet on the meal deal by round one finish. It's plus 350. I think if he wins, it's going to be in the first round, and if it gets to the second round, that's where Kennedy will probably try to take over, and even then, Kennedy might be able to find counters with the way Shamil kind of finds his way into these exchanges where he's finding shots, I guess. That was a very dumb way to break that down. But he kind of does blob forward. At the end of the day, he's a blob. You know what I mean? He might blob himself into a knee from Nzechukwu, you know? Nzechukwu sneaky good in the clinch. I don't know. I don't like this pick whatsoever, but I got to go with Nzechukwu. Low confidence once again, but it's an underdog. Will I play it? Like I said, I have someone round one KO Fiziev or Gaziev, whatever his name is, and I might place something on Nzechukwu inside the distance just because I think Gaziev will gas if this fight extends. And just by his style, he will be pushing forward, looking for the finish where I think one of these guys will probably go out. So haven't checked the over-under. Stay tuned. Next fight of the card, Jamal Emmers versus Le'Ryan Douglas. In this matchup, I almost said Jamal Emmers. I am picking Le'Ryan Douglas by round one KO, but I got no action on the Le'Ryan Douglas side. My one bet that I did take is Jamal Emmers by KO. All right, I love Le'Ryan Douglas. I was talking about him going into the Contender Series. Now, that doesn't mean much because he was minus 800 going into the Contender. It was clear from his regional tape that this was a guy that you needed to know. This was a guy that's a lot of fun to watch, a good prospect, black belt, good hands, good boxer, fun to watch, a lot of fun to watch. But if you go back, you watch the regional scene, there are a lot of moments where this guy isn't looking as up to par as his current hype train is telling you, okay? Go back, rewatch the Isaac Thompson fight. He low-key quit in that fight. You know what I mean? Go and watch that fight against, what's his name? Nathan Garib. He was not doing well in that fight, and he kind of got hurt, shelled up a little bit. You know, there's a little bit of worry in me that when adversity hits him, it's going to hit him hard, and he's going to get fraud checked, and everyone's going to switch up on him and hate on Le'Ryan Douglas. Right now, he looks fantastic because he dropped Julian DeRosa with the jab, and man, when a motherfucker drops someone with the jab, I get horny, right? I got horny for that performance, but when I'm taking aside my boner and how horny that made me, I can look at it objectively and understand that Julian DeRosa was chinny. Julian DeRosa is washed, okay? And now I'm telling you all this to say, Le'Ryan Douglas, is he necessarily going to quit at the first sign of adversity? No. But if this fight extends and Jamal Emmers is tagging him with a jab and Le'Ryan's not having the fight go his way and Jamal's landing some shots, could I see Le'Ryan getting KO'd? Yeah. So that's why I bet Jamal Emmers plus 700 by KO, right? He's a guy with a takedown threat. He's a guy that has a lot of experience. Sure, he's older. Sure, you can say he's washed because he got KO'd by Nate Landwehr. But Nate Landwehr fights don't make sense, okay? He's got pop. Le'Ryan Douglas struggled with Isaac Thompson, who more of a karate style, but another tall, rangy frame like a Jamal Emmers. Jamal's got pop. If Le'Ryan gets hit and this turns into a dogfight, if Le'Ryan's not landing his big shots, Jamal absolutely can't KO him. We've seen signs of Le'Ryan Douglas wilting on the regional scene. So I'm saying, just beware. I wouldn't play moneyline minus 390. Obviously, I think he's a good boxer. I like that he's a BJJ black belt. I like the gym that he's at. the gym produces dogs. So, maybe he fixes that. Maybe that was just some bullshit. So I would prefer for Larry Douglas to be a dog and really be this fucking beautiful prospect. But when it comes to betting, and that's why you guys are here, I would say don't play the Larry Douglas side. Even by KO round 1, that's probably minus odds. I wouldn't even do that. Even odds. Like Jamal Emmers is a crafty guy, good striking game, and in his own right was a pretty good prospect at some time. So I like Jamal. And even like that Nate Landwehr fight where he lost, dude, like he had the early moment. He gassed out after he was fucking raping Nate Landwehr, you know what I mean? But I guess the adrenaline dump came, and this is the type of fight that would have an adrenaline dump. My pick is Larry and Douglas. Yeah, you get kind of where I'm coming from, hopefully. If not, comment. I will respond. All right, bang. Next fight. Anthony Wint versus Terrence Chapman. All right, Anthony Wint, you guys notice him from week 1 of the Dana White's Contender Series. He got a KO in the first round. All right, he's an NFL player, former NFL player, linebacker, and he was at FIU University, and now he is fighting in the UFC. Okay, he's got good power. He's got good wrestling. I do think he's a little bit more green than people are saying. I'm going to go with the round 1 KO. I think he's going to be trading on the feet. There might be a moment that scares him, as Terrence is a very big dude who has some good power. And I think he'll go for a takedown. Terrence survives a round, and then middle round 2, Anthony Wint maybe finds a big shot that leads to a long TKO kind of combination. So go round 2 KO. It's probably the side to be on. Actually, I don't really know how you can bet this fight, to be honest with you. I haven't seen anything that makes me think you can bet this. So Anthony Wint is the pick. Terrence Chapman probably is a live dog. As I said, like there's some tape on the regional scene of Anthony Wint where the fight does extend, and he's not looking like a super beautiful, fantastic striker when, he's not finding that big shot early. So I still like Anthony Wint. I think he's a good prospect. I want to believe in him. I'm just warning you guys, minus 1,000 in his debut against a big motherfucking bastard. And by the way, Terrence Chapman knocked out a guy that Anthony Wint took to split decision. So if you're going to MMA math, this could be a little bit more interesting than you think. So there you go. Anthony Wint, round 2 KO. I'm going to go early round 2 KO. Next fight of the card, Carly Judice versus Jayla Chavez. I'm going to go with Carly Judice. I'm going to go with round 2 TKO. At the end of the day, Chavez gets hit. She is tough, but she was basically out on that one fight in the Contender Series. And I think Carly Judice is a chick she mixes up to the body head very well. Doesn't have great striking defense, but it's all offense, almost all gas, no breaks. And I think that type of style here, with just what I have seen, I think she's going to find the finish. I didn't like Chavez's regional tape. Not necessarily that she looked bad. She just fought low-level fighters from what I could tell. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, it's women's MMA, so they all look pretty low-level to some degree. But Carly Judice, I like her striking. I like that she can go to war. She's a scrapper, and I like that she mixes up to the body head, whatever, pretty well. She's got good volume. I think she'll build into this fight, and while Chavez is tough, I think she is very hittable, and Carly is a girl that can put her out. So I'm going round 2, round 3 KO. I got some bread on her inside the distance. And then for the unit sizing, make sure to check my Twitter once again. All right. Here's an interesting breakdown for you guys. All right. This is where I'm fucking contrarian maxing. This is where you're not going to like my pick. Call me dumb. And you're probably right. But we're picking Markel Mederos, baby. Come on! Mason Jones is going to be walking down the aisle. He's going to be pressuring him. And all of a sudden, Markel Mederos puts him the fuck out in the first 30 seconds, baby. And that doesn't happen. That's not the pick. But Markel Mederos is my pick. And let me tell you why. I understand the Mason Jones side, all right? This guy is hittable. Everybody knows this guy is hittable. Okay, fuck. I'm trying to break down this fight without sounding like a goy, all right? Which is kind of ironic because I think a lot of people picking Mason Jones sound like goys. Well, Markel Mederos has struggled with the pressure from Chris Padilla. He got pressured and he didn't win the fight, so Mason Jones is going to pressure him and he's going to fucking put it on him, man. At the end of the day, you got to break down every fucking style differently. While Chris Padilla, and I did pick against Chris Padilla earlier on the card, and maybe this is some sort of a hedge for me. I'm picking Markel Mederos here. I think Chris Padilla has better tools to deal with the Markel Mederos than a Mason Jones. I think while they both do pressure, they have different styles of pressure. I think Chris Padilla has more of a Muay Thai style. He's much better within the clinch than a Mason Jones. I think he's got a much better ability to deal with the leg kicks of Markel, which is a big tool of Markel. I think Chris Padilla at this point is more durable, right? At least he doesn't get hurt as badly as Mason Jones. Right? I think Chris Padilla, well, okay, they both have the ability to mix it up with the grappling, but Chris Padilla has a better high tight guard. He's much better defensively than a Mason Jones. Like I said, I think Markel struggled with the clinch from a guy like Chris Padilla. I think Markel struggled with the low kicks from a guy like Chris Padilla. And on top of that, he would just nonstop pressure. And Chris Padilla is a lot more technical than Mason Jones in the striking just in general, not just because of the tools, not just because of the elbows that he brings out. Like I said, I picked Chris Padilla in every fight in the UFC, and I've been right so far outside of the Markel Mederos fight, which went to a draw. And if you know, you know, Chris Padilla probably should have won that fight. Okay, I'm not delusional about how good Markel Mederos is. I just might be delusional about how good Mason Jones is. I went back, I watched Mason Jones versus Ludovic Klein, and I'm thinking, dude, like Markel has very similar tools to Ludovic Klein. He's dealt with arguably better wrestlers than Mason Jones. Go watch the Isa Isakov fight. I understand the fight against, I literally want to say Austin Hubbard. I know his name's not Austin Hubbard. Give me a second here. We're going to pull this up. What the fuck is this guy's name? This is the guy that fought Brahimaj. Was it Austin Hubbard? It was Austin Hubbard. No, he didn't fight Brahim. Okay, sorry. I'm fucking tweaking out. I'm thinking of someone else. Okay. Regardless, Austin Hubbard's not that good. That was not a very good performance, but Austin Hubbard spam takedowns. Markel Mederos was held up against the clinch. I think he's going to be better at that. I think I watched a lot of Markel Mederos interviews. No, I didn't watch a lot. I watched one about this fight week, and I like what he was saying. He's like, look, dude, I want to be the first person to finish Mason Jones. And the reporter followed up and said, well, you know, he's very durable. What do you know? He's like, I've watched a tape of Mason Jones. Like, I'm not going to force it. Like, there's certain tools that I have. And there are certain things that you will see. You know, I love this thing. I love MMA. This is my passion. There's nothing on earth that I am more attracted to, basically. He's like, my life, my whole purpose, it's MMA. Number one, it's MMA. I watch every fight. I watch so much tape. Believe me, I see the holes in Mason Jones. But I'm watching tape. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to fucking go out there, blow my load. Like, I see how he fights. He's a dog. You know, I'm not going to let him take advantage of that. And if I hurt him, you know, I want to finish him, but I'll be smart about it. At least I hope so. So Markel was saying the right things. I definitely probably just gave you a goy slop interpretation and interpreted that quote wrong. But like Markel Mederos, good jab, good switch stances, great knee. He's actually good in the clinch as well. I think Chris Padilla was just better. Great low kicks. He's good at circling around off the back foot. I know people say he's not good with the pressure. I think he's better than people say. You know what I mean? He's had his bad moments, but he's been young, dude. I think he's been professional in MMA for 5-6 years now. He's improving fight to fight. And I do think with the youth, with the training camps he's been in, like now he's been fighting. Let's look at his recent fights, actually. I want to, before I hone in on this point, he's been fighting a lot of fighters that are putting him off the back foot. And you can say, oh, well, he hasn't looked that good. The kid's what, 20, okay, he's 29 at this point, entering his athletic prime. Mason Jones looked very bad against Ludovic Klein. And Ludovic Klein just kind of beat him with footwork by being the quicker guy, getting the kicking game going. He caught him with the counter. Markel's got decent counters. Markel with the step and elbows, with the knees, with the low kicks, with the ability to circle out. I think all of his tools are tailor-made to have a lot of success against Mason Jones. And he's a pretty fighter. What I will say is Markel sometimes looks very pretty with his striking and very, I'm not going to say flashy because it's not like the most flashy style, but he just looks very pretty, very technical, but he does make some mistakes where he's getting hit a little bit more than you would want him to. But Mason Jones is not as well-rounded with his approach to the game as a fucking Chris Padilla. You know what I mean? This breakdown just does not sound good right now, so I'm sorry. I'm trying to bring up points, but it's fucking late. Mason Jones is a boxer. He's not going to have the same kicking game as Chris Padilla. He has a decent clinch game for sure. He has a good clinch game, but I favor Chris Padilla's clinch game a little bit more, right? And not only that, Markel was doing okay with it. Markel was doing great with the step and elbows. That's going to be perfect here against Mason Jones, who has worse striking defense than Chris Padilla, in my opinion. And he's more open to the leg kicks than Chris Padilla, right? And he's not going to be landing leg kicks back on Markel. I think Chris Padilla, when I looked at it, I was like, all right, shit. He had a lot of success with the leg kicks, which allowed him to clinch up with Markel, have success in the clinch, and keep pressuring, and keep Markel from circling around and finding different angles. Kind of similar to how Ludovic Klein did against Mason Jones. Markel's going to be the quicker fighter in this matchup. He's going to be able to fight out of both stances. I guarantee you he watched a whole bunch of tape, so if he thinks he likes a southpaw stance a little bit more because he saw Ludovic Klein do that, he probably saw that same fight, dude. Ludovic Klein has very similar tools to Markel. Now, Ludovic's smaller and a little bit faster, but Markel's still fast, and Markel arguably has better finishing potential. We've seen Mason Jones hurt in almost all of his fights. You know what I mean? And I'm sorry, he's getting a whole lot of credit for beating Axel Sola when Axel Sola hasn't proven shit yet in the UFC. And I know Sola beat Bonfim, but fucking Bonfim wanted to lose that fight. If you watched it, he wanted to fucking lose that fight. I don't know what the fuck he was doing. Markel, maybe I'm falling for the pretty striking and the technical striking, but I do think a technical striker should be able to beat Mason Jones as long as you're not fighting into his fight. Markel's watching tape. He talks about how MMA is his passion. This is everything he wants. He's watched the tape, and it doesn't seem like he's delusional about the fact that Mason Jones is a dog. I like the fact that he says, I'm going to be the first person to finish him. But he also says, like, I'm not going to fucking force the finish. So, I don't know. I'd watch his interviews. If I were you guys, I really would not bet Mason Jones at minus 325. I think that's fucking ludicrous. Ludicrous. Even though he could find a finish late. And yes, Markel has been clipped off the back foot in moments. But when he's been off the back foot in a large majority of his fights, tells you he's got great takedown defense. I don't think Mason Jones is going to find takedowns. And something I do want to mention, I think Markel can find takedowns in this matchup. And you saw what happened when Ludovic Klein got Mason Jones down. And Axel Sola got Mason Jones down multiple times. Markel is going to be a very technical striker with the big striking threat. He's actually got pretty decent takedown entries. I think he's very underrated. I love his low kicks. I love all of his tools in this matchup. But at the end of the day, if it's a tough matchup for Mason Jones, he can walk through a fucking fire and settle it at the end and find a finish. So it's a very low confidence pick. Markel Mederos is my pick by decision. I'm probably going to sprinkle something on Markel Mederos inside the distance as well. And I will be playing Markel Mederos money line. I think this line is ludicrous. And even if you don't agree with the Markel Mederos pick, I think you can agree with the fact that this is a pretty wide line. And Mason Jones is getting a whole lot of credit for beating Axel Sola, for beating Balagioki, for beating Jeremy Stevens. And like these guys are all having moments against him. Axel Sola almost finishes him early. Now that was a fluke shot he landed, but Balagioki not so much, dude. You know what I mean? Mason Jones ends up in bad positions. Markel Mederos is a smart fighter. He's technical. And he's got the kind of footwork where if Mason Jones is not landing the low kicks that Chris Padilla is, and he's not able to clinch up with Chris Padilla because he's not landing those low kicks, because he's not managing the range, using a well-diversified portfolio of strikes. I don't know what the fuck I'm saying at this point, but like Mason Jones might struggle with Markel Mederos' ability to circle around on the back foot. You know what I mean? Markel is very underrated at doing that, and Chris Padilla did a very good job of stopping that with his low kicks and engaging in the clinch. I think Markel's lead elbows are going to be money. His fucking counter knees are going to be money. He's got underrated counters. Now, his extended combinations, I don't think are like fantastic. I mentioned that I thought Nasser had better combos than Mederos earlier on, but I do think that a lot of Mederos' tools are just set up to fucking put on some fucking mustard onto Mason Jones. So I like Mason Jones for the record. I was one of the first people calling for him to be back in the UFC, that they shouldn't have cut him in the first place. I've been cheering for him in a lot of his fights, and he is fun to fucking watch. But I think this is a bad matchup for him. And with that being said, Mason Jones probably wins by round 3 KO. But you heard the pick, Mederos by decision. Next fight of the card, Rene de Ridder versus Roman Dolidze. All right, in this matchup, I'm going to be picking Rene de Ridder. Okay, he's the bigger guy, I want to say. Big guy. All right, rangy guy. He's the better striker, better submission game, probably the better wrestler. Both of these guys have had cardio issues and look very sloppy at middleweight, so now we're going up to light heavyweight, and we'll see what happens. I think Renier is the more dangerous. Well, they're both pretty dangerous, I guess, but Renier probably has a better wrestling between the two. Renier's a stronger guy. I rate the fact that he, had a very close fight with Robert Whittaker and pulled out the decision win. He's got the better striking, and I think he could win this on the feet. I think Roman Dolidze will gas out too, if that is the case. I think Renier they were both cutting a lot of weight, but I think Renier would, I'll just call him RDR. Holy shit, man. RDR will probably benefit the most from the cardio advantage. I guess I'm moving up a weight class than Roman Dolidze. Because even when Roman has had good cardio, it's like he's not really putting it on people. Renier, when he is in the fight and he's not gassed out, he is kind of putting it on people. And he is pretty physically imposing, as you saw with the Bo Nickel performance. I like the knees to the body. I think he can rip those. That is something that Roman Dolidze won't like. And I think if this fight goes down to the ground, Renier de Ridder should be able to outscramble Roman Dolidze. And I actually think he can find a submission or a TKO. I think they'll get into an exchange on the ground where RDR is landing a bunch of big shots. Then Roman's going to roll to his back or something like that, and RDR is going to find a submission. I'm going to go round 2 or 3. I'll lead round 2 submission. In terms of how I'm playing this fight, I don't think I will be. Okay? I'm not super confident RDR finishes Roman, even though he's the better fighter. I could see this being like a very sloppy striking match from range where RDR wins or there's a lot of clenching. This could be a very boring, very sloppy fight. Not sure I love the matchmaking on this one, but at this point, why not? You know what I mean? So RDR's pick. Am I playing his money line? No. I'll try to find a play on this for you guys, but it seems like I'm going to stay away from this one. Yeah. Next fight of the card. Sergey Spivac versus Vitor Petrino. This was another one of those fights that was very hard for me to predict. Vitor Petrino is a guy I've been very good at predicting. Let me say this much. You probably won't believe me when I say this because there's no track record of this. You can ask my friends. I picked Anthony Smith and I picked Dustin Jacoby over Vitor Petrino. I picked every Vitor Petrino fight correctly within the UFC. I wanted to pick him here. I almost did. I'm going with Sergey Spivac. And I will say this much. I was very anti-Vitor Petrino, right? The Anthony Smith pick, to be honest with you, was probably a bad pick when I picked it, but I was biased against him because I did not like what I saw on the feed. I did not like what I was seeing. I thought this guy was going to be soft. He'd gas out. Anthony Smith would maybe not take over later, but find takedowns and just have a well-rounded approach that would eke out a decision against Vitor Petrino, right? I actually did think that. You know what I mean? For better or for worse. The Dustin Jacoby one, that was a good pick. You got to give me credit for that one because Jacoby was going to beat him by decision. More than likely, he was doing well in round 3. Clearly won round 1 and then KO'd him round 3. Okay. Anthony Smith one, a little bit dumb for sure, but hey, he was looking decent with the low kick. Give me a little bit of credit. Come on now. Yeah, maybe it was a good pick. I got to give myself more credit. I'm picking Sergey Spivac, and it's not because I hate Vitor Petrino at this point. At this point, I have respect for Vitor Petrino, and he has kind of shown me some things that make me somewhat believe in him, right? He's eating these big shots, and instead of smiling and just being a little pussy about it, he fucking bites down on the mouthpiece, and he's gone into wars, and he's pulled himself out of holes. He's now tough. He's shown me the toughness I've been looking for, right? He's shown me that he can be higher volume, right? I don't think he's technical, but he'll try to get behind a jab. He'll try to mix in some wrestling. He'll try to extend his combinations a little bit. Now, it might just be a 2-3 spam, He loves throwing that 2 followed by the lead hook, and then that's about all you get. He'll throw 4-punch combinations here, and that could be enough to get Sergey Spivac out of here. But I'm going to pick Sergey Spivac because of the jab. Because I think Brando Pericek is a guy that is pretty decently dangerous. You know what I mean? Or what fucking Brando Pericek. This is not Shamil Gaziev. Sorry, guys. Heavyweight division. It happens. I meant Ante Delija. I thought he looked pretty good in that matchup. So Ante Delija is a very dangerous kind of guy. I think decently explosive. Was pretty quick looking as well. I'm trying to think of who we just lost to outside of that. It was Waldo Cortez Acosta. Sergey lost to Waldo, but some people thought he won. I thought he did very good in the striking. His jab was landing like money. I think Vitor will win round 1, but Sergey in round 2 will start to win. And I was thinking I was going to pick Vitor just based off the first round and kind of some of the moments against Steven Aspelin, but the problem is he'll have like a good combination. He'll have a good flurry, and then he'll just walk away like Nate Diaz, like where he kind of just walks around the outside of the octagon like he's disinterested in the fight. Sergey Spivac is probably a little bit more technical. At least he's going to have that jab. He's got an underrated kicking game. He's now coming down a little bit in weight. He's 251 pounds, and Vitor Petrino is gaining. So if anything, Vitor's going to be a little bit slower. Sergey's going to be a little bit faster. Sergey's going to get that straight right, that jab right down the fucking pipe. And I think it's going to be connecting against a Vitor Petrino. So Spivac is the pick. He's the underdog. This is very low confidence. And for the record, I'm picking Spivac because of the striking. I don't think Spivac's going to find the takedowns unless Petrino's kind of shooting the same way he did against Steven Aspelin, where I was thinking, okay, the way he's shooting, if this is Sergey Spivac, that's an immediate judo throw just based off of the way Petrino was shooting in. But I think if Sergey's trying to bring the grappling to Petrino's going to stuff all those takedowns. I was actually pretty impressed by his takedown defense and his scrambling against Thomas Peterson. So, I'm coming around to the Petrino train. I think he is improving. I like the toughness he's been showing. I like the fact that he's not all fucking smiles and giggles, and it seems like he's taking his career seriously. So I'm kind of like not cheering for him, but I got a little bit of love behind him because I was a guy that was hating on him earlier on in his career. Now I'm trying to be a little bit of a fan of the kid because he's fucking big. Jack seems like a fun kind of guy, I guess. I don't know. He's fun to watch. That last fight against Steven Aspelin was a lot of fun to watch. But I mean, in hindsight, now Steven Aspelin had a pretty poor performance against Guilherme Pat. Even though he hurt him 3 times, he was getting tagged up a lot in that matchup. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think Sergey Spivac will stay at range, being the rangier guy. I think being a little bit lighter than he used to be in the past has helped him out a lot. I think he's made a lot of improvements recently, and I think that jab will be money with the low kick. I think this will be a close 29-28 decision. Maybe a split decision, to be frank with you, but I think the problem with Vitor Petrino is I don't trust his cardio. And even when he has good moments against Aspelin, it's immediately spoiled by the fact that this dude's just walking around and kind of lollygag and getting his breath back, and then he's going back out with the flurry. And I get it. It's heavyweight, and I don't know, maybe he's just staying out of range and preserving his energy, but I don't know. There's certain things I don't trust. I still don't trust his cardio, even though he's not cutting weight. I just don't trust his cardio versus Spivac. That's just going to be throwing that jab out there throughout the entire round. It's not like Spivac has crazy volume, but he's got sneaky volume, and he's not going to let you just breathe off in a corner like Aspelin did, like Thomas Peterson did. It happened in both those fights. A very bizarre look to see. So I have come around to liking Petrino. And this was a really hard fight to predict, but I'm taking Sergey Spivac for my fucking 4th dog of the card, man. All right, main event time. Main event time, baby. Anthony Hernandez versus Gregory Rodrigues, competitive main event. I'm going with Anthony Hernandez, and I'm going to go with the round 2 KO. That's probably a different take from most of the people that you see. Ultimately, I just think Gregory Rodrigues has a type of style where he's going to get caught multiple times. And I think Hernandez has underrated boxing. I think it's showcased in the Strickland fight. He had a lot more success than people were expecting. I think he's got underrated counters, and I think Gregory Rodrigues is wide open to counters. And I think the way his head stays on the center line, when he throws his big shots and he gets caught clean, he just gets put out. And I think Anthony Hernandez, this might be a hot take, and this probably won't happen, but if he times the right overhand, he can flatline Gregory Rodrigues. I think Gregory Rodrigues is sneakily pretty chinny, but more so chinny when he gets caught in the right spot, if that kind of makes sense. You know what I mean? Like I actually said this in Muhammad Ali during my breakdown. I'm picking Muhammad Ali, this, that, the other, but he's kind of like Gregory Rodrigues in the sense that, he'll throw big power. He's a little bit stiff, but if you catch him at the right time, this guy can get fucking flatlined. Glass cannon kind of in that sense. They both were IBJFF champions, whatever. So I don't know. People are saying this is a bad matchup for Anthony Hernandez. Yeah, Gregory Rodrigues can target the body with the front kick a little bit, but like I've also seen Gregory Rodrigues where I bet Gregory Rodrigues inside the distance against Cannonier, have Cannonier rocked and then just get taken down. That's Cannonier. Now Anthony Hernandez is a better wrestler with better cardio. That's more relentless. You know what I mean? I think Hernandez is underrated boxing. I think his actual chin is good. While sure, he's a little bit soft to the body, a little bit fluffy, a little bit chinny to the body. And Rodrigues had some tools against Kopylov that looked good in that matchup. That Kopylov fought retarded in that fight, by the way. Absolutely retarded. But I think Hernandez can find the takedowns. And even if not, I think that he is an underrated striker on the feet, dude. He's being massively underrated. A lot of recency bias is having a lot of people picking the side of G-Rod. I like G-Rod. I picked him. Actually, maybe I haven't picked him all that well, to be honest with you. I haven't picked him poorly, just probably like 50%. Let's go through this, all right? I picked him against Ferreira here. I picked Kopylov over him. I picked him over Hermanson. I picked him over Cannonier, and then I picked him over CLD. And outside of that, I think, yeah, I've been like almost 50%, slightly above 50% of G-Rod, so I've not been great at picking his fights. I'm giving Hernandez like a 60% chance to win this fight, though, and I think he wins it by KO. And I like Anthony Hernandez by KO at plus 290. I think that's great value. I think he can KO Gregory Rodrigues on the feet, and if it goes to the ground, I think that G-Rod has solid enough submission defense to where if he's getting finished on the ground, it's probably a TKO. Now, you never know because Anthony Hernandez submitted Roman Kopylov, so maybe he just gets that done again. And Hernandez is relentless, so when G-Rod kind of gasses out, we'll see. And I guess I've kind of done a lot of hating on G-Rod in this matchup. I like G-Rod. I'm a fan of the kid. He's a lot of fun to watch. But what I do want to, I want to make sure, like early on, if he's going to find the finish, it's probably going to be in the first 2.5 rounds, maybe 3 rounds. First 3 rounds, I'm going to say first 2 rounds, he's probably going to find it against Anthony Hernandez. But Hernandez is quick. He's got good counter striking. His takedown entries are like, they're good, but like more importantly, he just shoots a lot of them. He's got good chain wrestling. And, I've seen Rodrigues taken down enough times in my career of watching Gregory Rodrigues fight. So Hernandez is the pick. Like I said, 60% chance. I started out not knowing where I was going to go. And also, I was one of the guys saying Kopylov had a very good chance against Hernandez or actually, is his last name Kopylov? Dolidze, Roman Dolidze. I was saying Dolidze had a very good chance because he's got power on the feet. And he's got a good submission game. And then Hernandez went out there and fucking dog walked him. But in theory, this is like a tougher matchup than Roman Dolidze. This is what we were kind of describing Dolidze to be, where Rodrigues is a better striker than Dolidze, targets the body better than Dolidze, has better power than Dolidze, and has a very good submission game. So I can understand the Rodrigues side, to be honest with you. I kind of just fully gave my argument for Hernandez. I can understand the Rodrigues side, but ultimately I think Hernandez, he should be able to, I think with the takedown threat, he's the more technical striker on the feet. I guess that he should have more success, at least in the minutes. Rodrigues also has a very good low kick. He's been training with Pereira, and I think that's been doing him well, but at the end of the day, he's so open to straight shots down the pipe. And if you catch him at the wrong time, which he does overextend, like I said, he's a little bit stiff. He's going to be the slower striker in this matchup probably. With the volume of Hernandez, I just feel like he's going to find a shot on the feet that's going to lead to a TKO in round 2, late round 2 maybe round 3. And if Hernandez is finding takedowns, I think that G-Rod will gas out. So maybe G-Rod finds a finish. It's a fun fight. And maybe we are all in hindsight thinking that this was the actual bad matchup. It wasn't Dolidze. We all picked Dolidze and we're just a little bit too early. And it was G-Rod the whole time. So that's the full card prediction and breakdown. Let me go through this real quick to see how many underdogs they picked. We took 1, 2, 3, 4 underdogs on this card. I think that's the most in a while. I've been going pretty chalk lately. Very excited for this card. So make sure to like, subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, as I'm saying for the 10th time. I'm going to post my full betting card just like I did here last weekend where we went up units. And we've been up a lot of units lately. So make sure to like, subscribe, and peace, guys. Take care.